Hey guys, how's it going? So today at Pearson Guitars, we have this Greg Bennett acoustic. It's in for a refret. We're going to do bell bronze frets, Graphtec nut, Graphtec saddle. Yeah, so how I remove the frets, partly with a soldering iron, and then here's a carpenter's flush cutter that I've just machined the tip off of so that it pulls the frets out really nicely. So what I do, so I've got a little brush. I just want to wet slightly around the fret, because then I'm almost steaming the fret out, which I've gotten really good results with. That I get basically zero tear out with this method. I've been trying it for a while now. Probably the past 20 or 30 refrets have been like this. You don't want to heat up the fret too much, just until the water kind of boils away, and then it's really nice and easy to grip it without getting tear out. Great stuff. So literally on that one there's zero tear out. Looks really good. Just a little bit of water. And then I'm adding solder to it, because solder just transfers the heat a lot more quickly. I mean, you can hear the water boiling. There we go. Very nice. Also, no tear out. So what I'm going to do now is, well, I'm going to be just cleaning all this off the bench now, and then I'm going to get the radius sanding block, and we're going to neaten up the board, and then we'll get going with the actual fretwork. But I actually need to clean these slots out before I do this, and just covering up the sound hole completely, making sure that when I'm sawing over here that I can't, that I don't slip or anything like that. So I have this from Stewmac again. This part cuts on a pull, this part cuts on a push, and it's the specific, you get 3 thicknesses of blade. This is the thickness of blade that I want to use for the Fretwire, the bell bronze Fretwire that I'm going to be using. So pretty much I'm just going to come in like this, and just clean out the slot. So the reason I'm using this saw and not a normal fret saw is because of the binding, and I need to be able to get into the slot without hurting the binding. So I'll do 1 or 2 on camera, and then I'm just going to carry on. Why I'm doing this, cleaning out the slot, is because I want to make sure that the fret is going into a clean slot. If there's still glue left behind and things like that, what can happen, the fret might not seat properly because it's getting stuck on a piece of glue that it's trying to press down, but there's no more space. And then, I'll show you guys that I do this as well. So this is just a needle file that is broad on one side and thin on the other side, almost like a knife. And I use this just to treat the top of the fret slots. So now that this one's cleaned out, I'll just run this file just in here. And what this does is it just puts a slight bevel onto the slot, so that when I'm pressing the fret in, because I press them in, I rarely hammer them in, but when I press it in, that the fret it finds the groove really easily, instead of maybe falling over or something like that, which is a fairly common problem. So this just helps with that a little bit. So I'm not doing this on the binding because I don't want any weird slots on the side of the binding that will mess up a perfect looking fret end. Now I'm going to start with 80 grit sandpaper and a Stewmac 12-inch block, because this is a 12-inch radius. And what I already did before closing this up was I used a straight edge and made sure that the fretboard was perfectly straight after I pulled the frets out, so that I'm not changing any flatnesses now. So I've already adjusted the truss rod that the fretboard is flat, so that when I do this, that I will not be influencing any straightnesses of the neck. So cool. I'm going to stand for this, so enjoy my stomach. So for this guitar, we're going to be using the Sintoms Bell-bronze Fretwire, which is also used on Warwick, the custom shop basses. It comes in sets like this. I do sell these as well. I do also sell stainless steel. Very, very nice wire, and I'll be bending it with the Sintoms bender. So I'm just going to press it through. There we go. So this is, I'm looking for a 12, and this is just a bit over a 12, which is nice. So I'm going to bend all of them this way, and then in the next act. So here we go. Got the guitar here. I'm going to start cutting the wire for the lengths of the slot. So I've got this little block here. So I start at the last fret. Just get like a rough length, and then cut them with this with these Stewmac flush cutters. It's really hard to get a feel like this. So with these ones, I just kind of put it on its side and just kind of get a rough length. I'm not going to show all of these. I'll just do one or two, and then I'll just get on with it. So I don't want to waste any wire, so I'll cut it a bit more shallow. What's nice about starting at the end, for instance, if okay, this one is fine, but if this one was too short, I could just move it up somewhere, wherever. Like if I cut the wire too short, I can just move it up. So cool. Let's just keep going. Bell-bronze is a really nice fret wire for acoustics and basses, and if you find the tone of a Les Paul to be slightly too dark for you, it really helps brighten up the tone. But on a Strat, it makes it almost unbearably bright. I do not recommend it for a Strat at all. Strats are already incredibly bright instruments as they are. Dusty roads. So like on the end here, now I'm going to cut this little bit off, and see, there it's gone. You don't want to lose those bits. You'll step on it later and wish that you found it. There it is. Throw it away. Okay, cool. So now I've got all the frets to their relative sizes. Now I'm going to use this tool, also from Sintoms, which is the same maker of the Fretwire. It's called a tang nipper. So what this does is so that the fret can just sit over the binding. I want to cut away some of the tang of the fret so that I don't have to cut through the binding. So that's essentially what it does. It just nips a bit off there. And what I like to do is take these Stewmac flush cutters and just nip the end off so that there's a slight angle on it. Cool, so I'll get the one side how I want it, and then I'll just kind of eye how far I need to go with the other side. You want as much tang as possible on, because the more you cut off, the less bite down you're getting in the fretboard, which is obviously not what you want. So it's just going to be a bit too small, so just a tiny bit more. And for this you really don't want to lose the little bits. They'll get caught up in your vacuum cleaner or whatever and just wreck it. Cool, so I'm quite happy with that. I'll do one more and then I'll see you guys in a bit. Very nice. Cool, so that's kind of what it looks like before it goes in. All the frets are prepped now. So here's my little Lucky. It's got the Pearson Guitars stamp on it over there. And this is what I usually use. I've got a couple of these that I just, when I'm doing a refret, I'll just put the frets in order in a little block. It really helps organize them. So now I'm going to go to the workshop and press these in. I use a 1 ton soup. I use a 1 ton arbor press. Cool, so there it is. Now I've got all the frets pressed in nicely. And we're back. The glue is dry. I've left it overnight. Everything is looking good. I've adjusted the neck so that it's straight again, so now I can do the leveling. I've trimmed the sides of the frets in. So the neck is straight, so I'm going to begin fret leveling now. Crowning is now done, so I'm going to come in with this file. So this it's got a 35-degree angle on it. So when you do this and you run it through, you're slowly getting that the bevel on the frets. So yeah.
So what I'm actually wanting to do is with the bevel, I want to take the bevel and just touch the binding, because then it kind of gives the binding that rolled feel again. Because when I took the top of the fretboard off, when I was sanding it off, this is like a hard, sharp angle in between the frets now. So what this also does is just breaks that angle very slightly. Cool. Here we go again. Well, that feels great. Awesome, so now I'm going to start masking with the fretboard. Cool, so I'm just going to go through the polishing process. So it's going to be 600, 800, 1000, 1200, then very fine steel wool, then buffing. Cool, so everything is now polished. Looks fantastic. So now I'm going to be oiling the fretboard. So this is a special oil that I mix, and I've been using it for quite a couple of years. It's not beer. Yeah, just get a little bit of this on a piece of towel. Cool, so I've got the bone nut glued in place, and I've got this bone saddle that's nice and tight in there. And now it's pretty much time to string it up and see what we've got. Great stuff. We've got a set of elixirs over here. That's going to go in here. Cool. So I've got the neck relief to where I want it to be, and I've filed down the bottom of the saddle until I got the action that I want. So now I'm going to cut the nut. Cool. Starting on the low side. So there it is, guys. So this will be the final part of the video. Yeah, this is it. So strung up, nut cut, saddle, down to the action that I wanted. Intonation is good. All that's left is just cleaning it up. So, and it sounds incredible. It's brightened up so much. there it is. Thank you for watching, and well, enjoy the rest of your day.